Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I'm Jenell Pizarro.
And I am Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Pow! We're doing tech, y'all! Dumb.
Yeah, we've switched to tech for our past listeners because we feel like web just doesn't cover everything that we talk about in the show.
Yeah, tech kind of brings everything to light, I think. But hey, I just want to say it's super good to be back. It's been a long time, and yeah, welcome to season 3, everybody. I just want to get some first things first out of the way really quick. We have a special guest co-host, and I just want to welcome Jenell Pizarro. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, I appreciate it. It's wonderful being here.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome being on the other side.
She's in the studio with us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, even though you're feeling kind of sick.
Yeah, I got the flukitis, y'all. It's great.
Well, and that being said, speaking of sick, we got a sick guest today. Let's go ahead and welcome him on the show. We have User Experience Director Andy Vitale. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm super pumped for this.
Yeah, man, we're super happy to have you. And, I saw something on, I think it was the Facebooks the other day, and it was about a birthday or something. So let's go ahead and just sing Andy, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy.
And type 1, 2, 2. Oh, you did it across the internet. Congratulations.
You're supposed to eat it now.
Yeah. Happy birthday, brother.
Thanks. That is awesome. My birthday week kind of started probably last Thursday or Friday in Mexico. We were down there standing up a design team, and I heard the whole happy birthday that the team sang to me. The Spanish version's a lot longer, but it was really awesome. I had this like flaming thing in front of me, like a little firework. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, it's been a fun
Did
week.
you have like a pinata and all that stuff?
No, pinata, but someone actually gave me a pinata last night for my birthday. So I haven't brought it back to the office and tried to figure out what to do with it. But
what was the cake they gave you?
The cake, so the first cake I had was, I don't know, probably some tres leches or something. It was, there was like this caramel like circle in the middle of this cake. That was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Then I went out with my team yesterday and we had sushi, and there was another like sponge cakey thing. So it's been donuts, cake, like forget it, 20 pounds.
Dude.
Happy birthday. Look at that.
It happens. So you were in Mexico.
Yes.
Aren't you missing the weather back home? -5?
Well, I'm home now.
You are?
And I do not like this weather at all, right? So -5, let me check. It's actually 4 degrees right now. It was -5 this morning. The coldest it's hit this year was -16 with a -30 degree wind chill. So
it's so cold here too. So, yeah.
I lived in
66.
South Florida for 15 years.
Yeah, you were here for a long time, right? You weren't from Florida, but you followed your family here, right? You were from New York?
So I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, and then I ended up in South Florida. My family's still there. I'll actually be there in March for a couple of weeks. Coming down for a conference, so it'll be pretty sweet. No, but this is really my first full winter here because when I was working at 3M, I did a ton of traveling. So I was on the road probably more than I wasn't. And I haven't really experienced a full winter, and it sucks. It is like cold as shit.
Are you used to driving in the snow yet?
No, when it snows, my commute without bad weather is about 45 minutes because I took a job on the other side of town here at Polaris. So if it snows, it could be like, I tried it once. It was like 2 hours, and I just won't do it again.
Wait a minute, though. Don't they sell the snowmobiles and stuff like that? Can't you take one of those?
We do, but you can't ride them on the road. Not yet, at least.
Well, not officially. You leave a little bit early.
Yeah, that's true. Why not?
That's one way to get to work, and fun. Yeah, you have a really unique story about how you got started. And we won't go all the way down that road, because I think if you want to listen to that and know about that, you should listen to your interview on Jason Ogle's User Defenders, which is really great, fabulous podcast, and we'll link to that. But we certainly want to touch on a little bit to give people some context, because you started off as a radio guy, and then you came to Florida with one of your buddies doing wrestling, and you as Jason, citing back to Jason and User Defenders, as he coined you the the U executioner.
Yeah, that was so. Jason's podcast is great because everybody gets this like superhero theme or alter ego, and I don't know. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted mine to be, but U executioner just kind of rolled because design really to get it moving forward is all about execution and actually showing by doing the work more so than talking about it. So it just seemed fitting to me. But yeah, I mean, it's a lengthy like backstory of how I got into design and my history of like wrestling and the little turns, and it's super long. And like you said, they can listen to that somewhere else.
I want to know, did your time in wrestling help you at all with your current job? Like, is there anything that you've taken from that? And I know it seems weird, but I feel like there might be something that.
Yeah, there is. So wrestling kind of teaches you to adapt on the fly. Now, just if something doesn't go well or something just kind of takes a turn for the worse and you don't get the
slam them on the
reaction
ground. You just slam on the.
I mean, the crowd kind of dictates the pace of how things are going. And if you lose them, you've got to figure out how to tell the story to bring it back. And it really is. So I learned very early on that I sucked at wrestling and I wasn't going to make a living in it. So I switched to like behind the scenes and developing the storylines and the ability to like plan what's going to happen in like 6 months or a year and figure out how to tell that story long term. But because we're a small wrestling company, people wrestle with us one time. We've got big plans for them. They go somewhere else. They move. It's like, how do you change that story or how do you backfit that story? So it's all about reverse engineering. Sorry, I've got the flukitis too a little bit, but it really is like, how do you figure out your vision of where you want it to be and what that looks like and try to build towards that? But as we learn, you have to pivot and change and figure out how to still make things successful. So wrestling and design are a little bit closer than you think sometimes.
Yeah, it's that storytelling on your feet.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the ability to take a punch and keep going.
Yes, I know that literally and figuratively.
Nice.
And the only other thing I wanted to ask you about that episode is at the time you adopted some Chihuahuas, and I have 2 Chihuahuas. I have Nina and Jerome, and I love those pups. You guys have your Chihuahuas?
Yeah, my Chihuahuas are great. So we have 3 total. We have a 7-year-old Chihuahua named Snooky. We named her after the Jersey Shore character.
Oh, I love that.
We just adopted 2 in April. That we saw one on the news, didn't know they were a package deal, but luckily, we were fortunate enough to be able to afford to adopt 2 at the same time.
They always are. I mean, it's buy one, get one.
Yeah, I know. These 2 are so attached. One is mostly white, so we named him Gringo, and the other one is Brindle, so his name is Geraldo Rivera. The day we got them, we got.
Gosh.
Yes. Now, do you say the whole name all the time, or how do you abbreviate it?
I usually call him G Money lately. So
G Money.
They both come running anyway.
Dog. I love that.
G Money. I like that.
Yeah, I wanted to name him something else. I wanted to call, instead of Gringo, I wanted to be Geraldo Rivera and Dirty Sanchez, but my wife wasn't super into that.
She wasn't down for that? She wasn't down for being at the dog park saying, "Hey, Dirty Sanchez."
Nope.
But it could be the drink. It could be the drink. It's fine.
It's true. I know. But the interesting story about that situation was we were coming home to adopt them and we got stranded in San Diego, that's where we adopted our first Chihuahua, and my wife's family is there. But just our flight was canceled and we decided to drive, and we drove 31 hours straight through a blizzard in Breckenridge, except for one stop through that blizzard that ended up being a 30-minute stop because I forgot to keep the car running, and it got right below there. So like 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I'm up, and I just drove the rest of the way. So, wow. It was worth it. We love them. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love those dogs so much. Jerome, our little guy, he just turned 17. He's so awesome.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
They'll go to
old. That's old for.
They'll go to 24.
Really? Wow.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. Hey, so let's move in a little bit to the actual professional subjects. I want to know about Polaris, and I want to know about how you got your start there, why it's named after the North Star, and what exactly you're doing there.
Oh, you know, I'm here 3 months in company history onboarding, like that.
Going through that, yeah. You're in the consuming phase, taking it in.
Pay attention to. So, yeah, Polaris named after the North Star, Minnesota company. I think next year is going to be 60 years, if I'm correct.
Wow.
Basically, I had met someone that works here, Holly. She's the director of marketing and a couple of other digital services. So when the role opened up, I kind of reached out to her, and it led to me coming on board. And as I was going through the interview process at Polaris, I mean, my role here is really to build a proper experience design function pretty much from the ground up. And that was kind of what attracted me to come here. If you look at the maturity level, so the Danish design ladder talks about the maturity levels of design, from no design to design as styling to design as process, and then it ends up with like really design driven like innovation. So for me, it was the opportunity to come from a pretty mature design company to go somewhere where design was less mature and be able to build something from the ground up, something that was pretty much my own. And I thought that was a great opportunity and something I had never done before. So the ability to work on this global team that's focused on consumer, when I say that, we're talking mostly web and enterprise solutions, and that's kind of dealer and sales. But it's also a different industry. This power sports industry, it's got such a passionate fan base. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I probably shouldn't talk about product leaks, but occasionally I get an email and there's a product leak. And that was kind of odd to me at first, because I'm like, you know, it's not an iPhone, but the fan base, the riders are so passionate. Like, they love this. They look for anything they can get to like be ahead in the industry and break news. And it's wild. It's something that I had never seen before, or had the opportunity to work in a place that was like that. But we recently just had it's called Partners in honestly, again, it's a PCI, an acronym, right? Partners in Continuous Improvement. So all of like leadership of Polaris got together, and we had the chairman from US Bank came in and gave a talk to us. And one of the things he said that really resonated with me is that other than Disney, there's not a company that he can think of. Now, granted, he's from Minnesota, that provides the experiences that we do for people and those long-lasting memories. I imagine you could equate that to a company that creates boats and things. But really, when you talk about people, they remember the first time they were on the snowmobile, or those trips with their family up north, and the riding that they did, or on the ATV. And really, that's
it could be a lifestyle. Like you could have a relationship with, like, you know, your family. You grew up with this. You know, me and my dad went out and we did this and this, and you know, now it's me and my kids. So yeah,
right. And then you go into like Indian Motorcycle, and that's just a sweetheart brand. It's been around for a long time. It's America's like oldest motorcycle company. So the difficult part is, how do we translate that riding experience into our digital properties? And that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out through a lot of like behavioral analysis. You know, it's going to be a challenge, and it's the challenge that I'm most excited about.
I want to know, can you hook us up? I'd like a motorcycle. I don't know what Frederick would like or Jenell would like, but you know.
I'm definitely a motorcycle girl for sure.
I'm a
like,
pony
I've
man.
been riding since I was 18. So yeah.
Okay, so three motorcycles, please.
One pony.
You know, I'll look into it. I'll talk to somebody tomorrow.
Now, this must be such a different experience for you, and what an amazing opportunity to. I mean, just thinking about like what you were doing at 3M and what you're doing now. It's, you know, obviously there are some things that you could equate that, yeah, sure, this is like this or this is like that, but it's so different.
It is. It's night and day. So healthcare was really about like saving lives, solving complex situations, complex problems for people, for our users. I started out working across all different divisions in healthcare. So we created some things that maybe weren't life or death at the time. But then when you go into like enterprise software and you're focused on nurses have to touch your documentation and medical coders and doctors see it and it affects patients, like that's kind of really important. I mean, that's important. And one could think that, all right, well, you know what? Now you're working with like motorcycles and power sports. But the truth is, it's still a very passionate user base. And also at the same time, there is an enterprise side to it too with dealers. And, you know, the way our dealer system works or our sales systems work, that really needs a lot of attention to detail. I mean, safety is another big thing here. And we've got to figure out how to educate people on how to ride safely. So, you know, that really also is life or death. I mean, we don't like to talk about that side because we really do want to focus on safety, but some of these vehicles are dangerous and we need to make sure that people are educated on how to use them.
Wear a helmet. Wear a helmet. I can't tell you how many motorcyclists I see without helmets on. It's so frustrating. So are you actually building a design team there? Is that your goal there? Or?
So I inherited I would love to say design team because that's what we are now, but really it was product teams that had designers on them. They had some sort of design capability, but it wasn't truly like a design team. Nice. And now as we really start to influence strategy and design across the business units and work within the product teams and that model, it really is about building out the competencies of the team, making sure that they grow, making sure we educate people on what we do and how we work. And really, I would say it's pretty much building that team from the ground up, except for the handful of people that have been here.
I can imagine you're a designer designing a design team.
Yeah, I can imagine that's it's funny. I can imagine that's challenging, especially if it's a company with a culture that they're not used to. Hey, there's a design team. You work with this design team. We're a team now, and you're basically changing a mindset and like you're redirecting how the company's thinking a little.
Right. And I think this was the right time because they were the ones that expressed interest in trying to create this role and have this work done. So they're hungry for it. So it's a great opportunity. But there is still that, hey, why don't we just bring in an agency for this because we don't really have bandwidth. And that's okay because the work still has to get done. But I want them to be more of an extension of my team as opposed to just handing us things that we have to go after. So it's a lot of evangelizing. It's a lot of figuring out like, hey, this is what design is. This is the new capability that you have. It's not just, you know, visual design or production design. It really is like solving
experience.
Problems. Right. And then even then it's like, how do we understand what the user's behavior are? So the thing at Polaris is everybody in the building is a rider. They are the customer to some extent, but they know the product inside and out. So things like finding a vehicle that's right for them might be easier than someone that just comes to the site for the first time and doesn't know, do they want a utility, vehicle? Do they want a recreational vehicle? What are they going to use it for? So how do we start to understand who that customer is? And that's some of the work that my team is doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what does it mean then for them, for you to come in there now and be a design leader? Are you more sitting at the table with the C levels making those kind of decisions, or do you have that kind of gravitas with your role?
Well, 3 months in, to be really transparent, when the role right before I came on board, there was a reorganization, so a lot of things changed, including my reporting structure, but it seemed to have changed for the better. So I'm super excited about it. But the team focused on web traditionally. So now we've added the dealer side and the sales side. So that enterprise side based on my background. So it's kind of like I'm learning the business still. So I'm playing on 3 different levels. So I've acquired this team that I'm responsible for day to day on the managerial level because we don't have a manager. So I have to figure out how to elevate someone to that level. There was one before the reorg, but the position was eliminated in that process. So really I'm playing on the director level. So I'm speaking to, like, I report in through my manager who reports up to the CIO. So I've got that C-suite visibility. I'm on a digital steering committee that works across, different VPs, presidents, and C-suite of the organization. I do sit down with most of the VPs regularly to talk about vision and where things are going and tie that into the value stream. But also I'm responsible for my team's day-to-day work. And every now and then, because I'm a designer, I can't wait for things to get done, or I have to communicate my vision with some design, to use design as a storytelling tool. So I jump in and do something. So I'm not doing like day-to-day work that affects like the web, but every now and then, if I have to communicate an idea to my team, I'll jump in and wireframe something, or jump in XD and make something clickable and send them the video of what I'm thinking of and let them flesh it out.
So you are still have a little bit of a creator kind of role, individual creator, and you have some ICs under you.
Just a little, because I can't fully let it go. I mean, even if I'm designing, like I look at the corporate like PowerPoint deck and I'm like, I can't use this. Like I'm going to jump into Keynote, or I'm going to make something way nicer and get my story across a little bit better. So I think that even though we're not responsible for day-to-day design, it's like we never really lose the ability to tell a story using design. Like we can't ever let that go. Like if I wasn't doing it here, I'd do like side projects or something just to keep myself busy.
Be trimming your beard a certain way. Be like, I wonder if what that experience would be like for other people.
Yeah, you don't want to put down the paintbrush, because there's a feeling of you could lose touch with what's going on, what's trending. Or even some people could lose confidence in their skills because they're not being that contributor. I think it's really easy if you're IC to be able to rest your head on the pillow at night to say, like, I did X, Y, and Z, and these are the projects I'm working on. But when you're a design leader, it's not so much about things that you could point to, but it's a little bit more meta, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. It's really about like working with the team and coming up with a vision and really empowering them to deliver that. So I think that even though I'm somewhat like sketching things out here and there, like I never want to lose that, because as a director, it's my job to kind of work with them to build them up to be able to do that, but still be able to like speak to things on that level and understand what's happening. So, I mean, like Envision Studios coming out. Will I use it? I don't know, right? My designers will definitely pick it up and play with it. I know I will. I'm sad that my beta didn't come in yet, but maybe my friends at Envision will send me that invite for the beta now after hearing this.
We'll put an mention to Envision to make sure they hear this part.
I just actually talked to someone earlier today. I have a good friend that works there, so I didn't push that at all. Like I'm not super concerned about it, but
we're gonna evangelize that. It's gonna get done.
Nice. It definitely is. For me, it's not about learning the tools anymore. I feel like at that point in my career, pen and paper works, the whiteboard works, right? So, but strategy. Just knowing that I could fall back and do that for my own thing, right? Like I have a website that I've got to redesign because it's terrible, but I don't want someone else to do it. I just kind of put something up that's like a list of like all my articles and where I'm speaking, but I'm taking this off topic and I don't want to do that.
I don't think you're taking us off topic. I think that's really important because you have to give your designers room to fail, and you got to give them room to succeed as well. Right? So sometimes that means you stepping back and taking, being the guy that's going to be in those meetings. Yeah, guys, you do this. I'm going to be in the meetings all day. I'm going to get the strategy. I'm going to bring that back to you, and then I'm going to see what you could do because. You also want to bring up the next generation of these people. It's not just a giving back thing, but it's also ability to delegate and get things off your plate so you could do your job and they could do their job, and everybody feels good with a workable ecosystem. I saw this thing from Andy Law on one of those Design Better links, and we'll link to that in the show notes, where he said to be a leader even when you don't have the title of a leader. And Brian's highlighting that in the doc. You guys can't see, but being a leader even when you don't have that title of a leader, get these people ready to take ownership. Let them have that ability. And I'll cite from what I said before, giving them the room to succeed and fail.
Right. I saw Brian was going to say something, so I'll let him jump in.
Well, all I want to say is that you're still being a designer when you're in the meetings, because you're going into the meeting and you're digesting what they're saying and understanding what the problem is that your team then needs to solve. So even though you may not be as hands-on, in a way, you kind of are more hands-on because you're helping to shape things a little more directly.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, so that's true. And now that you mentioned that, you pretty much described my day-to-day. So I was in a meeting one of my first weeks here, and I looked back at the notes, and I literally sketched out the words like, so this is the seat at the table. And it really is like just listening to a lot of opinions and a lot of people and a lot of insights about things and problems that we want to solve at a 50,000 foot level, and trying to understand that, and taking back that like high level like principles to the team and letting the team actually, roll up their sleeves and start working on it. And it is about giving them that opportunity to fail. Luckily, the design process is set up so that we don't really fail, right? So we make mistakes, we learn from them, we pivot, and we keep going. We don't actually release something that's going to fail. If you're doing that, you should probably start to figure out how to do some better user testing so that that doesn't happen. But really, it's about empowering the team, letting them make mistakes, letting them really grow, and finding those coachable moments. So the difference between kind of a manager and a leader, I think, are a few things. I think a leader finds those coachable moments and lets the team kind of go out on the limb and then shows them, hey, without telling you how to do your job, like what if you approach this a little bit differently? What if you tried this? Go ahead and try that and see how that works and let me know, so that, you can learn on your own, but I'm just kind of giving you that push, that guidance. Another kind of key thing for a leader, and this could be really someone that manages people directly. It doesn't have to be like director level or higher, but if you're working with a team and you've got a team that reports into you, it's about understanding what motivates them, because those motivations are going to change. Work-life balance could be super important to somebody, or somebody else. If you've got a good relationship and you understand that transparency, someone could say to you, you know what? I don't love Minnesota. Like, I came here, it was a good paying job. I wanted to try it out. But as soon as my relo is up, like, I'm going somewhere warm. So I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that. I will give you some projects. We'll build your portfolio. We'll figure out how to get the next person in after you and groom them. But like, it's understanding those motivators. Or someone might have just had a kid, and you know what? I don't want to stay here till 10 o'clock, or I don't want to be on that call with the team in Bangalore because I want to get home to my family. It's about understanding their version of success and making sure that you give them that opportunity to succeed both professionally and personally.
And I would even say that that's you, again, acting as a designer, looking at your team and understanding, how can I make my team's experience better? How can I guide them, and what's
Designing
the correct path?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. There we go. Design it full circle.
Yeah. Well, you have to be a person, and you have to be authentic. Yeah. The moment you step away from being not being authentic, rather, that's when you fall back into what you were citing, I believe, Andy, where you were talking about manager and design leader. That's when you fall into a manager. The manager is the guy. Yeah. Like it's those goofy posters. Right? The manager is the guy in the back with the whip telling people to pull a rock, where a leader is the guy in the
So about those TPS reports.
Yeah, he's asking you to work on Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, it's totally like that. And also to go back to what you said about failing, it's I love this quote from Alexander Graham Bell, where he said, "You only fail when you stop trying." So if you keep going, everything is just a lesson.
Right. Yeah. No, I believe that 100%. It really is. Everything you're doing is a step in the journey to a specific outcome that you want, a desired outcome. And along the way, you will encounter different pieces of evidence that make you maybe change what you're doing and make different decisions. And it will eventually lead to an outcome, and it will be the greater outcome than the one that you thought originally.
Yeah. Well said. I wanted to ask you about is a kind of a different topic, but on topic. What do you think about companies that don't understand the value of a good of design, period, and having a good design team and having good design leadership? Do you think that's more of a kind of antiquated way of thinking, or is that something that we're seeing way less and less of? And how do you, if you're that person, more importantly, I want to get a good actionable takeaway. If you're that person at that company and you're the designer and you sit by the water cooler and you have that little cubicle and that's what they think of design, you're the guy that uses Photoshop. How do you, I don't want to use the word sell, but how do you prove and provide the value of what you're bringing to the table?
Sure. So it's a lot of things in one, but the first thought that came to my head was a quote from Mike Montero when he said, "Your boss is a choice. Your job is a choice." So if you're just not happy, I mean, it's time maybe to move on, but definitely not without trying, right? So one of the things I do think that more and more companies are understanding the value of design, at least understanding the buzzwords and knowing that they need design and design thinking, and they hear user experience and they understand customer experience, and they're hearing those buzzwords and they know that they have to act on that. They might not know how, and that's where the designer comes in, and it could be a designer at any level. It doesn't have to be a design leader. It doesn't have to be a design manager. Just anyone on the ground floor can figure out how to influence design and grow the maturity. So one of the tricks that we use at 3M, and it's not really a trick, but one of the things that we would do is sit down with whoever kind of provides this vision and get an understanding for what their vision is and figure out, okay, you might look at me as this lowly, pixel monkey, whatever I am, pixel pusher, right? But really, I can help you think about things a little bit differently. So you're not great at PowerPoint, and I can make your presentations look pretty good. So tell me your vision, and I will make them look amazing for you. From understanding the vision, when you start to regurgitate that back and put it down on whatever you're working on, and I said PowerPoint, but really, any form of design, that just seems to be the corporate tool. And the higher you go up the design ladder, it seems like you're doing what you least desire, and that's in some sort of presentation software all the time. But really, by understanding their vision, you get to put that back down on paper and influence that. So you can make some changes to it. You can say, you know what, I thought about that. I made this a little bit different because of whatever reason. This is the way the industry is going. These are the trends that are happening right now. So you're starting to inject a little bit of influence and gain a little bit more leverage or buy-in from that company. And hopefully that will start to gain momentum. It's all about quick wins in the beginning. It's a lot easier to roll a rock down the hill, but going up, you just got to go a step at a time. And, eventually you'll start to get buy-in, hopefully, right? So that's not going to happen all the time, but really it is about understanding these cross-functional partners and bridging that gap and building allegiances and having them think about users and research and ecosystems and anything that we can do to really show hey, that designer really knows what he's talking about. Or you know what? The next time I have a problem, I'm going to have the designer come in and just give me an opinion on what's going on or talk things through with me. So it really is about figuring out how to gain influence and understanding how to get that across.
Maybe there's some kind of a stigma or just not a, I don't know, something that goes along with the word designer where it's not, it doesn't translate completely well to some people in the higher ups up the ladder that don't get that it's about a person that is a problem solver, where right. they might just have that it's the Photoshop guy. And maybe too, there's maybe not a great job being done by undergraduate programs or other kind of schools to where they give you the business know-how when you're pursuing to become a designer. It might be too focused on the tools where it should really be a little bit more focused on the strategy side.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the thing that we have to watch out for with designers is if somebody's not understanding design, we have to look that maybe it's our fault. Maybe we're not telling the story the way that we should. Maybe we're not communicating as well as we think we are. Maybe we're going ahead and using our designer ego and saying, I'm a designer, I'm here to solve your problems. And not saying hey, how do we solve this problem for our user? Or how do we figure out a way together? How do we collaborate on that? And at the same time, I think that designers sometimes feel like they're the smartest person in the room, but at the end of the day, UX or design isn't always the center of the corporate universe, right? So we have to start to understand some of the business language and let the business know that we're not telling them that what they're doing is wrong. We want to speak to them in their language to let them know that we understand what you're trying to do, and we want to help you.
Yeah, because some of those people got to where they are in life because they're actually are smart. They did go to university. They have degrees. They know what they're talking about. So, you know, and maybe they just don't know some of the ways that we can translate those ideas into actionable steps.
Empathy.
Yeah. Yes.
Empathy is key, right?
Yep.
You know, speaking about schools, I wanted to dive in about your being a adjunct professor at Kent State.
Yeah. So my history and education goes back to Kaiser University in Florida. And that was a school that wasn't really famous for a design program, but I had a really great design teacher. So that's a school that we kind of learned the programs first. And luckily I had a really good teacher that taught us the design theory as well. So I ended up going back to teach there and helping them transition from a career college to university and becoming department chair there. So fast forward, I don't know, 10 years later, I graduated with a master's from Kent State University. Not having a master's is one of the things I wanted. I wanted to get a master's. I had attempted it a few times and never finished, just timing, whatever that happened to be. So I decided that I wanted to go back and do that. And I picked user experience design because I was already in the field and I figured it would be kind of easy for me, right? I mean, you know, if you're going to go to get a degree that you just wanted to have so that you can teach at a different level, like why not just do it in something, you know, if you really wanted to just crank through it. I mean, I would recommend that you pick something else and really challenge yourself. But I found that the program did challenge me in different ways. It had me read a lot of books that I hadn't read and think about different theories and psychology. And, you know, for the most part, I definitely walked away learning things and getting that foundational knowledge in UX that I didn't have by just being a practitioner and teaching myself kind of off of like blogs and how to do things. So right after I graduated, the opportunity came along to pick up some classes and teach. It's an online program. I started doing a portfolio course. I really enjoy being able to give back. I guest lecture at some of the local schools here. We've got Prime Digital Academy, University of Minnesota. I just joined the board at University of Wisconsin-Stout for their program. So I really do enjoy giving back. To be honest, Kent State has a lot of adjunct instructors, so I don't get as many courses as I would like. I know I've got some courses coming up in the summer and fall, so I look forward to that again. And Paul, Dr. Sherman, if you're listening to this, which you probably are, don't forget about me. I'm ready to take on more. Why not? I love it.
So, nice. That's really cool. That must be super rewarding to be able to do that.
It is. I mean, you know, the design industry community has been so great to me coming up. I've learned from fellow designers. You know, you can go and just reach out to anybody through Dribbble, through Twitter, through LinkedIn. They're all super willing to help and just kind of give guidance. Even today, like I've got a lot of friends in the design industry that I've made over the years that are way higher level than I am and bigger names that I never thought I would talk to. And it's just great to be able to have a sounding board from time to time and get advice. And I think that it's important for us to give back so that we can grow the future generation of designers and give them that same opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes me think of that thing you put on, what was it? It was an Adobe video that came out recently where you're talking about the ecosystem of the actual physical world and the device, and how it was a great piece of advice for designers to make sure that they're aware that there's an actual, it's not just about a touch point in your interface. It's about that full experience and trying to understand people, to Brian's point, empathy.
Right. Yeah, it really is. It's about an end-to-end experience. So it's not just about using a product that particular instance. It's about how do you discover that product? How does it tie into the rest of the world? So if we even think about like Polaris, right? There's a lot of things. How do you discover the vehicle? Sometimes you've got a friend that maybe helps you ride that, but then you go to the website, you want more information. And then from there, you might go to a dealer to do a ride along or actually it wouldn't be a ride along, but it would be like a test ride. And then from there, you might not make the decision to buy yet. You might go out to another event and there might be, Polaris tent and you think about it again and you're like, hey, come, let's go check that out. And then you go back to the website. You want to see what's going on. And then you're on your phone and you're configuring and building. And your own vehicle and saving that and sharing it and going to social and seeing articles. And it really does tie together through this ecosystem. And you've got to be aware of every one of those touch points so that you can, it's all kind of like, I don't want to say a funnel, right? But they're all connected. And really, when you do this mapping of the ecosystem, you can see where all the touch points are and how they connect and figure out what those pain points are and figure out how to bridge those gaps to really build a true like end-to-end experience that's delightful for your customers or your users.
It's very much a different type of user onboarding.
Right.
Get you on that motorcycle instead of into the app. Yeah. It's as far as the deal, I'm curious, just from a personal level, like what things are you addressing at the dealer level as user experience are you thinking about or have you been looking at?
So it's about what information is relevant to the dealer. So is it sales information? Is it rebates? Is it just information on specific vehicles? Is it promotions that we have? Is there a way to track like ride-alongs and leads from the website? I keep saying ride-alongs. I don't know why that's in my head, but like test rides. And it's just kind of like what information is relevant to them? What do they search for? What kind of warranty information do they need? And then we've got different apps for dealers that have service. And then you talk about, well, what information did they need? Is it some sort of like VIN number that tells you the history of like any warranties or any upgrades that you can get on the vehicle and just, and then there's that aspect on the website too, that's like a self-help and dealer login that they can go ahead and find some of those same resources before they go into the dealer platform. So it really is like everything you'd expect a dealer to have, plus some sort of analytics, like where are they benchmark versus like sales across the team. So a lot of those things maybe we don't have today, and they're things that we're working on or working towards, but really we want to become the best partner for our dealers because we need to make them successful and understand all of their pain points and their goals too, because you can't buy a Polaris vehicle through the website. That transaction happens at the dealership. So we want to make sure that we provide them with the tools to be successful as well.
Interesting. You run via a partner model, similar to us, Frederick.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just interesting how that all works. Yeah,
it reminds me of a famous quote that I read on a board behind Andy. It's about design inspiration, and I can't read it right now because he's not talking. But it's about not. Oh, geez, I lost it.
Can you see the quote? It's not about having another idea. It's about finding the meaningful solution.
Yes. As you were saying it, I was reading and I was like, that's
nice. I don't know if everything that's showing on that board should be showing, but
oh my God, secrets.
We'll blur it all out. Yeah. What's that thing about how much cash is that? Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was you had an article about your goals on Medium.
Right.
Goals like writing a book. You wanted to get back to the gym. Health is important to you. What are some of your goals that you're shooting for this year, and what's the roadmap look like?
Yeah, so I want to stand up a full like high performing design team here, really figure out what our design process is, kind of put together some design principles, even go beyond that and some big, hairy, audacious goals. So I met a very interesting person that runs Watson Health, Mark Burrell, and he talked to me about big, hairy, audacious goals, and it was really something that resonated with me and something that I want to be able to take on. So to me, there's like goals, and those are attainable. Then there's big, hairy, audacious goals, which are like just super far reaching. And then there's also like dreams, right? People have dreams, and sometimes those dreams you don't follow through on or they get pushed back. But for me, some of those things are to have like innovation time here to really like push forward, like what can the future look like? Because a lot of times we don't have time to work on that. And I really think that it would be great to have the designers start to focus on that, and it would really show the value of the team. So that's probably my biggest far-reaching goal here.
So what about personal? Are you still thinking about the book? Are you still thinking about a vlog? You're hitting the gym?
So the gym for sure. The gym has been killing me. So I've been sick like 3 times this winter. Winters again are terrible. Plus, my commute is pretty long. So for me to go to the gym, I've got to get up at 3:30 in the morning to go, or I've got to go after work. Now, after work, that time can change every day. So it ends up just not happening, right? It's go home, sit with the dog, see my wife, watch a little Netflix or some YouTube, and kind of like, yeah, I'll go to the gym in the morning. And then 3:30 comes around. I'm like, oh, I really need another hour sleep. I didn't want to go to bed at 11 and get up at 3:30. So I've got to figure out that cadence again, because I have packed on like 20 or 25 pounds and got to get it off and keep going.
It's hard once you break the habit to jump back into it, man. It really is.
And we've got a really good cafeteria here, and they've got breakfast and lunch. So it's like, oh, man. So
your secret is to drink more coffee, because it burns it faster if you just keep that coffee going.
Nice. And then, the book is definitely something I'm super pumped to do. Haven't really had a chance to do more than outline it. I actually have a few calls with some publishers that some friends of mine have set up for next week and the week after. So I really do want to get this going. The book is going to be about
wrestling.
I wish.
Wrestle with UX.
That's awesome. Last year I wanted to write a book about culture and evolving design culture. And I did a talk about culture and had a really great time with it. So many books came out about culture last year. None of them would have been my book, but as I thought further about it, culture will end up becoming a chapter in the book. The book is going to be about the transition from a designer to a design leadership role. So I'm not sure if we're going to take the transition from designer to design leader to design leadership, or what that looks like, but it's going to talk about some really transparent thoughts. And that's where the vlog comes in. Like, what's it like when you go to a company for the first day? Like, what do you think when you're actually going to be at that table with the C-suite and with the people that have these MBAs and this business history? And all of a sudden, you're still, even though you're a director level, the same level as them, you're still just the designer. So what do you think about? And there, just the thought process behind that and what it looks like to really stand up teams and go for it. So the vlog will tie into the book or something, or the book will somehow happen, but that's definitely one of my goals.
You should call it Always Designer, the journey from being a designer to design lead. So
I like that. I like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Some credits to Brian Hinton on that.
I'll just in the forward, just a brief mention.
All right. Well,
if you let me have it, I'll drop the name in there. Thunder Nerds too.
Working title.
I like it. Because right now it's called Untitled in my Evernote document.
I would go with Brian's idea. That was pretty tight. Dope idea, Brian. Hey, we're getting to around the end of the show, so we need to wrap it up. And the way we start doing this is we each got some questions for you to kind of end the show. And Brian has the privilege and delight to go first. Brian.
Yeah. How well do you know math?
I suck at math, dude. I'm the
worst. My question is kind of a spotlight question, I call it. It's something you've discovered recently. It could be anything. Could be barbecue, chocolate, tech, candy bar, new boba.
Yeah. So
and you get to think.
It's a group question.
Yeah, it's a group question. You go last. Mine is actually a Write font. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's if you're a font lover, we probably all at some point have had a ridiculous number of fonts on our computer, like maybe to the point that the computer was slowing down and you had to start deleting them. I don't know. Well, Write font is a manager, and they had a Mac app, and it's free. And what's nice about it is it allows you to quickly install, look at, compare, but they now have an iOS app. And what's awesome about it is that you can install fonts on your iPad or on your phone. So then when you're in Keynote on your iPad, or you're in, Affinity Photo on your iPad, you can actually use whatever font you want because you can actually install it now. So it's pretty cool. It's called Write Font.
Wow, that is awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm going to download that as soon as I get home.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
And you, Frederick.
Thank you. I guess something that I discovered actually today was this new Google Search Console beta, and it's pretty cool. It's a nice way to be able to look through everything on the web, images, video all your assets, and you could kind of see things by keywords. You could filter things kind of like the way you normally filter things when you're searching through analytics, like, by date and whatnot. But it's a pretty powerful thing, and I'm looking through that to get some idea of a project that Brian and I are working on recently, and I got some good ideas about it. But again, I just took a look at it today, and it's worth mentioning. I think everybody should take a look at that, and we'll put a link to the show notes. So, Jenell?
Yeah. So I am a weirdo, and I take notes for everything all the time.
Oh, so weird. Jeez.
I know, it's really awkward. And so I found something that was just wonderful enough for my notes. Like, I need the Jesus of note taking for some reason, and I have discovered this app called Bear, which you can do like markdown in, which is super nifty. So I can actually like do documentation for the code that I write in Bear and then put it on GitHub, which is awesome. It can transfer between my work computer, my regular computer, my phone, take voice recordings, pictures, videos, all that cool stuff. And I'm obsessed with it.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, Bear is amazing.
Love me some Bear.
To you, sir.
Andy?
My turn. I only get one.
You get one. I mean, you could say as many as you want, but
one.
All right.
So, like Highlander.
So the one thing that I discovered happened today that I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but the fact that I heard that it exists is kind of the new thing to me. So First We Feast, the people that have the Hot Ones YouTube show. And if you don't know Hot Ones, it's where celebrities eat hot sauce and answer questions.
No, I've heard of this.
It's really amazing with how well the interviews go. But they've got a new show that I haven't had a chance to watch yet. It's about burgers. I love burgers. I'm super pumped for it. I had a burger last night. I'm throwing it in. I got to walk past Super Bowl Live because the Super Bowl's here to get a burger last night. It was a mess. Tried to not be downtown and ended up right in the heart of it.
What's the show called? Burger? Like, is there
I think it's called The Burger Show.
The Burger Show? Really?
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I love me some burgers.
Yep. Just check out First We Feast on YouTube. It'll be there at launch today.
All right, cool. Well, is that your thing, or did you say you had another one?
That's fine. I mean, my other one would have been I got an Apple HomePod coming next week, so that's been out for a while, but not actually out. So I'm super pumped for that too.
Yeah, that thing looks tight. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, Alexa talks to me all the time for no reason when I don't want her to, so that Echo just is constantly talking. Oh, you know what? Forget it. I've got one, Wise Cam. If you don't have a Wise Cam, it's this little camera, and it records HD if you have a little SD card, but if you don't, you could just log in from your phone and see what's going on in your house. It's pretty sweet, too.
Ooh,
Sorry.
What? Okay, that's a good one.
Of them. Wise Cam, WYZE.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. How much is that?
$20. $20.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
What?
Great quality.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll put a link to that, everybody, because I'm sure everybody wants that. Okay, I got 2 questions for you, and then it's Jenell's turn. So my 2 questions are, and I got this question, I'll give credit where credit is due, is from Jason Ogle, and I love this question he always asks, is if you weren't doing what you do now and you couldn't be around a computer, what would you be doing professionally?
This isn't a group question, right? This is just
no. This is just for you, sir.
All on you.
I
mean, you could always defer to wrestling if you like, but
if I couldn't use
use a computer.
I've used a computer for as long as I can remember. I would. I don't know.
Too bad, no computer.
I would fight crime, maybe. Like I'd just go around and figure out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would do. Maybe I'd still be in wrestling if I didn't come across computers, and I'd be making $20 a night, 5 nights a week.
I mean, that was then. Maybe now you'd be like a professional. Maybe now you'd be like, standing on Hulk Hogan's grave going, "It's me."
That's true. That's true. So yeah, I would either do that, or you know what? I love like using my hands for things. I just suck at them, like making T-shirts. So maybe I'd be running like some sort of like T-shirt press without creating the artwork for it.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. I like that. I dig that.
Your T-shirt game, though, is like really good. Like I've been like seeing the stuff that you've got on Twitter and all that cool stuff. And I'm like, that shirt is amazing. That shirt's amazing. What are you wearing? Where do you buy your clothes?
I think you're a big Ugmonk fan too, aren't you? I think that's how you say that.
Yeah, so I've been buying Ugmonk things. I've got the
I have
the
that
mouse pad here. I had the ampersand. I left it with someone at 3M because they really loved it. But
Did you get Gather? Did you get Gather?
I mean, I don't know if it's shipped yet, but I pre-ordered it and hopefully it's coming soon. And I see Jeff on, like, he's the new king of late night infomercials for whatever sort of billing and shipping software they have. It's like, I just flip through the channels and I tweeted today, it's like, who do you see more on the infomercials? Is it like Tony Little, which was like the exercise guy with the ponytail back in the day, or Don Lepre, which was the guy that created the classified ads from his little tiny apartment and made all this money, ended up committing suicide. But, you know, that seems to be a thing in infomercials, but not for Jeff, because Jeff is successful and everything he does is awesome.
Who's the OxyClean guy?
Oh, Billy Mays, right? Is that the guy?
Billy Mays for OxyClean. Yes. I'm gonna clean your face with OxyClean. Hey, my last question for you, and then I'll give the floor to Jenell, is what is your heaven like? Meaning, if you passed away, what does your paradise look like? What is your end game? What does it look like after you leave this realm?
Man, I feel like I just go into the Matrix and I live it all over again, but not physically, right? Like, I just feel like, I don't know, you get absorbed.
Go ahead, yeah.
So my paradise is what I'm doing now, right? Like, if I could do it all over again, I would just completely like start over and just in my paradise in the alternate universe, like, I'm just building a design team and getting things going and solving problems and complexities. And maybe if that doesn't exist, I'm overseeing it and I'm like Yoda, like showing up as a hologram to someone and being like, no, teach them how to do it this way. Like, no, make sure that you ask them, like, did they get user feedback on that? So maybe I just live on as some like UX ghost, and that's my paradise, just like helping people still.
You'll be in heaven working on the onboarding process for people going through the gate.
Hey, there's you. All right, St. Peter, your time's up. And it's coming.
Right.
You know?
Not too soon from now, hopefully.
No.
Jenell, your question.
Oh, it's my question. Yay. So my question is, if there is one thing that you could leave as like your legacy, you have to pick that one thing, what would it be? What would you leave as your legacy? What do you say is the thing that is just you and what you bring to the world that no one else does?
I hope it's going to be the book. And if it's not the book, it's conversations like this that really allow me to, on a personal level, just give some advice, hopefully say something that sticks with someone that stands the test of time, right? Someday, 50 years from now, someone might be looking up UX and like, you know, I look at like Steve Jobs videos and quotes, and I would never compare myself to that, but just this little lasting digital, like, hey, you know what, that quote that he just read or something that he said, like, that really hit home with me and I can take that on. That would be it. Like, maybe it'll be my vlog, but it's just something. Like, we live on the internet forever, hopefully, and hopefully someone will come across something and take something away from it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Hashtag always a designer.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, myself, always, I see myself as Steve Jobs, and as Steve Jobs, I would like to say, do you have any kind of final words for our audience? Anything that you want people to know? Anything?
One more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah. Just kind of.
No, I mean, you know, I'm doing a little less speaking this year because I want to focus on the book. I'm thinking about working on a Skillshare course with them. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but hey, whatever. I've got some things coming up. I'm speaking at a lot of schools. I'm speaking at a chief learning officer symposium. I'm doing World IA Day in Des Moines in a couple of weeks. That's kind of interesting. I did World Usability Day, so it just felt natural to do another like global event. I've got a couple other things in the works. I was announced for Pandemonium, but I think that I might have a scheduling conflict, so that might not actually happen. But looking to do some international things. Twitter, website, those are all the things to kind of leave behind based on what I would say. Just, always be the advocate for the user. Understand that you need to have an understanding of business language and business lingo, and stakeholders understand dollars. So whatever you do, try to figure out a way to tie it back to some sort of KPI. Become friends with like Bob in accounting. If you can't figure out the math, he will. He'll love it. You'll both
Good old
get
Bob.
credit. It'll be great. Yeah. So
He's my uncle.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dad joke. My takeaway from everything that you've said this episode is to kind of decide what you're passionate about and then focus on it.
Yep, for sure.
Nutshell.
And use Adobe XD because
Adobe XD.
They've been great to me. So.
Use Adobe XD, everybody. Mandatory. Yeah, no, Adobe XD is awesome. All right, well, hey man, all that being said, how is the best way people could get in touch with you? How do people find out about you? What's your Twitter handle is?
Yep, Andy Vitale on Twitter, just my name. I also have andyvitale.com. I write articles every now and again, so the links are all there. That's really it. Reach out to me, LinkedIn, whatever you want. Like I'm down to have a conversation.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for being on the show. That was great. Really, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join us.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you for including us in your monthly tasks.
Yeah.
I think I see a note back there on the window that says Thunder Nerds.
Thunder Nerds, yeah.
It does, man. I was pumped for this. I love the videos that you guys were doing and the push-ups and the wolf with the ketchup in the mouth. Like,
I told you, Brian.
These are tremendous.
I'm going to do lots more of those. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Andy. Pleasure having you on the show. And until next time, thanks everybody for watching. Go to thundernerds.io. Keep in touch with us. Go to Thunder Nerds Ho on Twitter and the Facebooks. Much love. Peace out. Yeah. Boom. Boom.